When a child is born with intellectual and developmental disabilities, or IDD, many parents rise to the challenge of navigating a new path, advocating for the life their child needs and deserves. These children receive early interventions, speech therapy, occupational therapy, specialized care, a loving environment, a lifetime of support.
Other children aren't so fortunate. Many children with IDD become victims of Children with disabilities are 3 times more likely to be abused or neglected than children without disabilities, and they are more likely to be seriously injured or harmed because of the abuse.
Children with IDD already face greater challenges in life, but children with IDD who are also victims of abuse must live their entire lives with the added injuries of trauma.
Trauma is broken down into several major categories: emotional trauma, physical trauma, and neglect. When people are born, the brain obviously is not the full size it will be as an adult. So most of physical brain growth occurs between birth and to about when people are 10 years of age. As people have experiences in their environment with other people, this shapes the development of the brain. And studies are now showing that there are distinct differences between people who've suffered trauma and those who have not in terms of the way the brain develops. We see that the hippocampus is smaller, which is a major area that's important in memory and emotional control, and the prefrontal cortex, which underlies more advanced thinking, also is less mature in people who've had a history of trauma.
You know, I had one kiddo that the parents didn't know what else to do, and so they did keep him locked in a room, and so he had no human contact. I had a little girl, a teenage girl that came in that her parents ran a meth house, and they passed her and her little sister around. And that right there, just to have that sink in. Sorry. A lot of times it's a cycle. The parents themselves have been abused and they think that's normal. And so unfortunately our children are the product of that. And with that abuse and with, I mean, you know, and it is a harsh reality. But, you know, because of that abuse, there's a lot of trauma that's involved. And I always tell people, not only do you have IDD, but that you're dealing with, but you have psychological baggage. And these kids, because of the IDD, can't process that. They can't process that, you know, I was locked in a closet. So the behaviors we see, hitting, kicking, biting, spitting, running away, dropping to the ground, you know, banging their heads. A lot of our kids are self-abusive, but it's a reality and it's their coping mechanism.
Abused children are on high alert every single moment of every day. Their developing brains are focused on one thing: survival. Do they flee? Do they fight? Do they freeze? Instead of learning to talk, learning to hold a pencil, learning to play with other children, these children are busy just trying to survive.
There is no cure. People with IDD, we always know the IDD is going to be a factor for which they're going to need support.
Just because there is no cure doesn't mean there is no hope. Mission Road Ministries provides a vast array of services and support for children and adults with IDD, and especially those who have experienced trauma. All the children currently living on our campus have been rescued from abusive and neglectful homes by law enforcement and child protective services. They are all wards of the state of Texas. Mission Road provides exceptional, loving, and basic care these children need to live safe and happy lives, far from the abuse they endured.
I think the routine and the schedule is vital when it comes to our kids. They thrive because they know what's next. They know what's happening, in their day. Whereas where they come from, the situations and the abuse or the neglect, they didn't know when their next meal was going to be. They didn't know, is dad going to come home drunk tonight and beat me? So having that routine for them, it's a sense of security. It's a sense of comfort.
Just being in an environment that the routine is very consistent, the staff are trained in how to respond to the kids emotionally, really starts to help them settle in. And we often see fairly dramatic responses in terms of improvements in language from kids who have no language at all, who begin to use at least a few words, to kids who only use a few words begin using more sentences, and they start to show the ability to form attachments to staff. So I think many of the staff at Mission Road have been there for a very long time, particularly the house managers and such, and they really form a kind of parental figure, that gives kids that kind of security that allows them to make progress.
Their injuries cannot be healed, but we can provide loving care to make real and significant progress in their behavior and their happiness. Even more, these children participate in our S.O.A.R summer camp and school holiday program that allows them to flourish. S.O.A.R provides these children with active, colorful, and engaging after-school care every day and all day during the school holidays and summer breaks. S.O.A.R is the cherry on top for these kiddos, providing them rich, active, and joyful programming that lets kids be kids, happy, safe, and loved.
Hey, buddy. You want to get a snow cone? Yeah, come on, let's get a snow cone.
Yes, we are a nonprofit programming entity, and we are a business. We have all experienced the aftermath of the pandemic, such as inflated food costs, volatile fuel markets, overall inflation. Just like you, Mission Road is running a household for our children and adults. Only we are running 24 homes and 2 large campuses, all day, all night, all year.
What does it take to run our household? Utilities like electric and water cost over $350,000 each year. We cook more than 100,000 healthy and delicious meals every year, and we spend $500,000 just on food.
Our adult weekday program costs $1.8 million annually. 58% of our annual operating budget goes straight to salaries, paying patient people to take care of vulnerable people. The cost of specialized medical support, not reimbursed by Medicaid, is $550,000 annually.
Compensation costs for the people who directly work with clients every day, house managers, case managers, service coordinators, and daily direct care professionals will total $6.9 million this year. Our household and salary costs roll up into one overall yearly operating budget of $17.8 million.
93 cents of every dollar donated goes directly towards helping the people who count on us every day. We must raise more than $2 million annually to get to zero, to balance our budget. And it is through the generosity of our amazing donors, just like you, who make our services possible. Trauma is costly. There is the cost of caring for the aftermath and the cost of carrying the aftermath. No child should have to pay that price. With your help, the children in our care will live safe and sound, and so will countless children who will continue to need our care for generations to come. We can't rewrite a child's past, but your support can reshape their future. Be a part of the solution. Give.
I promise you there is gonna be a better day.